It's so weird how, like, the person you are in high school, unless you make drastic changes, is kind of just who you are.
It carries over.
Forever. Yeah.
You carry the one on that personality.
Yeah, absolutely.
They used to do those episodes of, like, Ricky Lake where they would be like, I used to be a dork in high school, but now I'm fucking hot. And, like, they'd come out. You remember? And they'd, like, yell at the person who bullied them in high school. But even when they would come out, you could still see a dork in them. You know what I mean?
Right, because a loser would be like, I gotta get on Ricky Lake to show someone who hasn't thought about me in 22 years.
You mean this lady with the whole family, you're gonna yell at her because she was mean to you when she was 16? Grow the fuck up. Yeah, there it is. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to a spectacular, a wonderful, a beautiful, big-tittied episode of My Mama Told Me, the podcast where we dive deep, go underground into the world of black conspiracy theories, and we work to finally prove that Jaden Smith can, in fact, talk to fish. That nigga dyed his eyebrows blonde for a reason. Humans didn't tell him to do that. A fish told him that. A trout named Harold said, Jaden, you know what? I'm a fish. You should look more like a fish. Make your eyebrows disappear into your face. We know you can talk to fish, Jaden, and we are going to prove it. I'm Langston Kerman. I'm your host, as always. I'm having a weird day, I'll be honest. Today, I discovered that, and I didn't know this, and I'm a very ignorant person, apparently, the phrase Siamese twins is racist. Had no idea. This whole time, I just thought, I never knew that Siam was a real place. I just thought that was the name that they picked for those twins that are stuck together. But as it turns out, we were my wife and I, driving past a restaurant that claimed to sell Siamese food. And I said, well, why are they selling Siamese food? What is Siamese food? Is that like when two chickens are pressed up against each other and they cook it anyway? I didn't know. And she said, no, Siam is a real place. And then I said, oh no, that means that word that white people came up with is just mean. It was just two kids apparently born with their elbows stuck together, and then white people were like, all right, that's going to be your country's thing forever and always. Man, the evils of America. Well, that covers that. I'll tell you this, my next guest, he ain't evil. He's a good guy. He's a lovely human being. I'm so excited that he's here. You know him from Black Monday. It's a hilarious show that he both writes on and has a part in. You know him from Duncanville. You know him from writing on Black AF. You know him from trolling Jimmy Johns on the internet because he told me, and I'm quoting here, he fucks with Subway and he doesn't think Jared did it. That's what he said. I don't know. We'll find out more about that when I invite him on. Please welcome my hilarious guest, Mr. Yassir Lester, everybody.
Oh, my God.
Yeah.
Oh, man. Here, let me clarify something.
Sure.
I didn't say Jared didn't do it. I said he did it and I don't care.
Oh, you're right. No, fair enough.
Yeah,
you're like, this don't bug me.
Yeah,
give me my $5 footlongs.
I was specifically, I'll go to Subway, get a sandwich, come back home, look at cabinets on Wayfair.
$12,000. I don't care if a woman comes in these. I'm going to fit one in there anyway.
Hey, my kitchen needs a cabinet regardless. What's that got to do with me? Now you're just talking about bonuses.
If you find a kid in your cabinet, you going to send it back? No. Now you got a kid.
And what they don't tell you is that, like, you can also, you don't got to keep the kid.
You don't got to keep that kid.
You can sell the kid. And then that's a come up for you. Then it's like you didn't pay nothing for the cabinet.
Right. You could do the right thing or the wrong thing with that kid. That's your choice. Why are you making this an issue for Wayfair? They're just doing good business.
Oh my God. Like, first of all, and I know this isn't the conspiracy we're talking about, but I will say the thing that always cracks me up, like, especially with that one, I was just like, you think you're the one who cracked the case? You know what I'm saying? All these people, I'm like, you think Wayfair didn't think enough to be like, okay, let's name it exactly after murdered children or kidnapped children.
Right.
Make it $12,000, but no one will suspect a thing. I hope a 15-year-old doesn't come on the website anytime soon. Like, it's just so crazy to me.
It is wild that they were like, the biggest way to crack this code is them pointing out this one's named Rebecca, so there's probably a lady named Rebecca in here. It's like, I don't think that's how you. If I'm gonna like kidnap a kid, I'm probably not gonna do it that way.
Well, yeah, it's like you're not gonna the same name, name. Like, if any, it's more, to me, it reads more like, you know how like Disney animators are like, all right, make sure the pastor has a boner in Little Mermaid. Like, it's like it's gross and weird, but like there's not kids behind the boards of Disney, like, you know, doing like weird sex stuff.
Right.
Anyway, to me, it was more like that. Like, it was just some weird guys like, I'm gonna name these cabinets.
Right. I'm gonna name this after the lady I follow home. And it's like, oh, okay, no, you're weird for sure. But there's not a kid in there. You just got some shit to work out for you.
Yeah. So anyway, that's a good one. Though.
That's great. I'm so happy you're here.
Me
How are
too.
things?
Dog, good. Yeah. You know, me and you just worked together on the BET Awards, so this is our first time catching up since then. Dog, fine. I moved in the middle of this, which has been a nightmare. Chaos, bro. Like, and this is gonna be on a racist tip, but I gotta say it. So
hold on, wait a minute.
So that's how they get you.
Go ahead, crack it open.
So my girlfriend Chelsea, who you worked with her on Bless This Mess, in which the hilarious Langston Kerman was an actor on. So she hired movers for us. They end up being Russian, which whatever, be Russian. You know what I'm saying?
Not ideal in these times, but here we are.
It feels like they should. Like that, we got to preface with, yo, just so you know, we're Russian. Like, we're gonna come through with the accents and all that.
Hey, by the way, we real Russian.
we like old school, like, you know, James Bond. Like,
I don't own nothing but tracksuits. That's the kind of energy I'm coming with.
But like, to the point where it was like an older dude who was balding, and then like clearly like his 19-year-old son. Right. And it was like one of those things where it's just like, for the son, I was like, why don't you do like work on like one of them troll farms? Like, you don't have to, like, you're a mover? Like, right. You know what I'm saying? Like, you don't know how to use a phone, bro?
You're
like,
a young entrepreneurial Russian boy. You should be hacking our government. What are you doing?
You would have a better life back in Russia. Just sitting in one of them rooms, you know? Anyway, I digress. So they show up, and like, what would any other time be like a Walmart gigantic, like Walmart store size 18-wheeler, like the gigantic ones. We have a 1-bedroom apartment or like whatever.
This is
so they show up. Cool. It's unnecessary, but all right.
Yeah.
They load up half my apartment. And they're like, all right, that's all we can fit for y'all. And we were like, what? And they're like, oh yeah, sorry, we have a whole other household on the truck.
Jesus.
And so we're just squeezing y'all on. So anyway, we're just like, all right, we got to take this L. So my point is like, we were so scared of them being Russian that we took the L on them being bad movers, you know? And like,
this wasn't based on like culture. This was just two bad movers who packed you guys in together.
Nah, man. Because here's the thing. It felt like, and I'm gonna be real, this is where the race part comes. It's like, it felt like they knew that we couldn't say nothing because they're Russian. Yeah. Does that make sense? Like, it was like a lot of like long looks at us, and we're like, all right. We'll just hire a TaskRabbit.
You both have very ethnic names. They probably like looked at all the reports and are like, yeah, we'll do whatever. Else.
Yeah, we'll do whatever we want. Okay,
what are we gonna give them their own truck? Fuck them.
Dog, it was so crazy, but I was just like, oh, this is like their time. And like, I mean it for real, like online and stuff. Like, I hate the argument that people are like, Russians did all this. I'm like, Russians planted seeds, but like, Russians weren't at the voting booths. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Right.
they just convinced y'all to
They were
do
just
it.
sending out blasts, and then a bunch of
Right.
y'all wanted this to happen.
Right.
Yeah, they didn't do anything that special.
Yeah, exactly. It wasn't great. So, like, I'm usually just like, yeah, Russia, blah, blah, blah. But this time I was like, oh, I feel it. Like, I know I can't do nothing right now.
First,
Like,
they came for my national election, and I said nothing. Then they came for my furniture, and I drew a motherfucking line.
Oh my God, like, that is so funny. Yeah, so
God, that's horrible.
I was scared, but you know, good. Now that's all life has been, dog. I don't know. I mean, you're like out there exercising and all. I don't do nothing.
I run and then I come back inside. That's pretty much it. It's not that deep. But, you know, we got to figure out ways to stay sane in all of this. I figured if I somehow could get buff before the industry opens back up and they have to talk to me different, then I'll have saved my career somehow. It's not working, as you can plainly see, but I'm trying my best.
No, but your face is definitely, like, because here's the thing. You're a drinker, or do you not drink anymore?
I drink. I used to drink a lot more. Now I'm like very occasionally I'll drink.
Okay, see, I was going to say, as someone who used to drink and doesn't anymore, I can tell when people stop because of their face. And so I was going to say, you either stopped. Yeah. I was going to say either you stopped or you're working out a lot, but it's probably a mix of both. Is what it seems like.
I'll take it.
Hey, man.
I used to be a fatty. Now I'm not. I'll take what I can get. Speaking of fear, we're talking about fear. Yeah. I had a little bit of nervousness going into your conspiracy theory. I'll be honest.
Oh, yeah.
You've presented one that arguably is one of our most challenging to enter into in today's era.
Yeah.
You know,
absolutely.
But I'm very excited to introduce it because you also were the fastest person of all time to respond to the question of what would you like your conspiracy theory to be. No one has written back fast.
It's almost as if I'm always thinking about it.
It felt like you had the email drafted already and we're just waiting for someone to ask, what you thinking about, Yassir?
I was like, ooh.
And you responded.
I'm glad you asked.
And it's beautiful. You said, my mama told me
Usher and Ciara used to be hermaphrodites.
And boy, oh boy, did my jaw drop. And before we go any further, because I want to hear all your thoughts, before we go any further, I want to be clear for our listeners at home that word is not a word that we use for people. It is 100% an outdated word. The correct terminology is intersex.
Intersex.
Yes, exactly. However, at the time that we were growing up, that was the word that conspiracy theory sort of came out of. I never heard the word intersex until like 3 years ago. And unfortunately, everybody was just running around calling Ciara and Usher hermaphrodites. So please, Yassir, tell me more about this conspiracy theory.
So, and this is where we get into the weeds of it a little bit. Because so many conspiracy theories, as someone who genuinely loves them, so many conspiracy theories usually have a thread of like, oh, okay, like it's not that you can follow it perfectly, but you can tug on it and get back to where you started, right?
Mm-hmm.
This one, truly, the only thing... the only thing I can think of, because I really spent a lot of time. I mean, here's the thing. I wasn't as smart as to like go research it. The only thing I can think of is that they are...
I wasn't reading your books. Studying your science.
Because, like, here's the thing. It's like, it was... I think we'll, you know, and I hope this doesn't step on any other ones, but we're roughly the same age. I'm a few years older than you, but this conspiracy theory hit the ground running around the same time as Marilyn Manson had his ribs removed so he could, you know, give himself head.
Yeah.
And then that little Kim backstage one night, you know, gave blowy J's to so many dudes she had to get her stomach pumped. Right. And so it's like, number one is like a sixth grader who has no concept of sex as is. Like,
Right.
you know, like I feel like sixth grade girls get it because they have to. Like, we just live in a society, sadly, that like if they don't have the knowledge, dudes take advantage of them. And sadly, it's usually older men, blah, blah, blah.
For sure.
So like usually, thank goodness, women have like a better grasp on these things. Sex until, and I mean this from the bottom of my heart, I feel like no man knows anything about sex until he actually has it. Like, it doesn't matter how many books you've read. It doesn't matter how many stories you've heard. It's like once you are actually in the act, you're like, whoa!
We have no concept of like where things actually go or what it's supposed to feel like. It's just all theoretical, and then you get inside of a person and you're like, okay,
yeah,
all right, let's take it easy. I think I get it now. For sure.
And even then, I would say, like, I think at like time number 10 is like, you're like, oh, I got it. Like, this is what sex is.
Well, that's why we're all so trash at it in the beginning, because we didn't know anything to start off with, and then that's tacked on top of the fact that we're not smart enough or intuitive enough to figure it out quickly. You know what I mean? Like, we're not sitting there studying and figuring it out. We're just like looking at it and being like, oh, that's different than I thought. And then we like, you know, run and go come and try to figure it out again the next time.
Oh God. So as you know, as you so eloquently stated, so it's like you don't know anything. So it's like, not only do you not know anything about the act, like being intersex is a very nuanced conversation for the most expert mind in terms of like what that means, not just for the person but for society at large, you know. And then like the Marilyn Manson thing, it's like you clearly don't know enough about anatomy to know that that's impossible.
That didn't help that much.
It didn't, and then like it's like it's just like you didn't extend your spine, you got rid of the other part that you didn't.
If you couldn't do sit-ups before, you're not like doing them better because your ribs are smaller. Like, that's not the issue here, bro.
No, that would be funny if you just saw a dude with like a 14 pack. Like, what? He's like, oh, I got my ribs removed.
I got one rib removed, and now I'm super buff and my dick stay wet. Don't matter who's sucking it. I got my dick wet.
It's so sad. So anyways, as I was saying about tracing the thread, the only thing I can truly think of is that they are both phenomenal performers and dancers, and are like, sadly for the Ciara of it all, is that she, especially at the time, was so toned.
Yes.
And so, like, you know, like, because here's the thing, is like Janet Jackson was that toned, Angela Bassett was that toned, and like those conversations never came up. But I just think that they were already in the world.
Well, you know what? To your point, it wasn't just that she was toned; she also was like hanging out with Bow Wow, so she was taller than everybody.
Oh yeah, that's right.
And so it's like, oh, this big, strong, tall lady. And she's not even that tall, but at the time it was
5'7".
Yeah. She was like 6'8" and muscular, and so a bunch of high school kids were like, "This bitch got a penis." And I'm sure,
which is like so like, because it spotlighted on Usher and then went to Ciara, and it was one of those things again that like the Usher of it all never made sense, other than, I think, is my theory. You know, I went to very hood schools till high school.
Yeah. And
so there's like all like middle school stuff. And it just felt like one dude hated that his girl liked Usher. And he just told everyone that he was half girl, which is so crazy.
Oh, you
but
think
also,
Usher's sexy?
Yeah.
Well, I already got a pussy on his hip, so fuck him.
Because that's also the other thing that like was so, especially as you know, get older and learn about people's bodies. But like the thing that they used to always throw around and be like, actually the clit is a penis. Actually, what his penis was a clit and Ciara's clit is a penis. And you're like, what? And he's like, yeah, I swear to God it's true. They're like, yeah, nah, it's true. And you're like, can't be. And they're like,
No.
nah, sure. Okay, but at sixth grade, in the sixth grade, you're like, no, oh my God.
Right, your whole
That's
world.
why.
Your whole
Yeah.
world is crumbling, and then you're thinking about the one crude drawing that they show you in textbooks, and you're like, well, it did kind of look like a tiny little dick, and I don't know what to do.
And you nailed it again, because it's like, this is also the rise of the internet. Like, this is when the internet first hit schools, and like there was no way to block anything.
Right.
Like, teachers had no idea what like a firewall was. Like,
Right.
you could do whatever you want. And also, it's like so much of the internet truly owes what it is to pornography. Like,
100%.
Pornography built the internet. And so because of that, you could find all that stuff easier. Like, I remember truly the first two things I ever saw online were a porno site and then cartoonnetwork.com, because they had pictures of Dexter's from Dexter's Lab that you could print out and color yourself. Those are the first. And then the third thing I did was print out Bone Thugs and Harmony lyrics and put them in a binder.
I love that. I hope it happened exactly in that order. That first,
No.
First,
Absolutely.
You watched some porn. You came, and then you came to your senses. And you were like, you know what? That was a lot. I need to color. I got to color something. I love Dexter's Lab. I'm going to color. I can't color without music. Who should I listen to? Of course, Bone Thugs and Harmony. And you sat there and you colored Dexter and you listened to Bone Thugs and you let your cum soak into your pants.
Well, this is the even sadder thing. Looked at porn. This is at the school library. Looked at porn, then got scared, and then downloaded the Dexter's Lab thing, and then printed out the Bone Thugs lyrics. But then went home and then thought about porn. Clearly,
right. So the Dexter's Lab was more sort of like to cover up your tracks.
Right. I just because I remember I didn't know what the internet was, and I saw this commercial that was like, go to cartoonnetwork.com and download a picture of Dexter. And I was like, what? Like, I gotta do that.
If the TV's telling me to do it, I'm getting Dexter. Oh my God. I totally agree. I do think that so much of this came out in an era where the internet was sort of like the Wild West. It was like Deadwood almost. So just like a lawless town without any organization, and there was nobody to fact check anything. Whereas now, if some sort of conspiracy like this were to come forward, it would be immediately at least refuted, if not fully dismissed.
Right.
There'd be 100 people being like, no, shut the fuck up. That's not true. Here's proof of that thing. But we were kids and they were just like, she got a dick under there. And we're like, yeah, I don't know. I actually don't know.
Yeah. Because truly back in the day, like someone telling you something was equal to books.
Yeah. For this presentation, I would like to cite Steve. Steve told me that if you turn to Steve, verse 8, he mentioned.
But you know what I'm saying? Someone could just be like, because I mean, truly, like, if you were in a classroom and someone ran in and said, like, someone bombed the CNN center downtown, unless you like got to the news immediately, you just, because also most people back in the day didn't lie about stuff like that for the most part.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? People clearly lied about like Usher and Ciara being intersex,
Sure.
but like mostly people, it was just like news was news.
Yeah, there wasn't as much of a trend of like doing it for the trolling. Wasn't the same thing.
Right.
You were actually crazy if you were doing something like that, and now it's a little more of a gray area where it's like you either are crazy or you're the funniest motherfucker I've ever met in my life, and I don't always know which one.
Yeah, so like when someone told you something, you were just like, all right. I mean, because it's also like, if you think about it, it's probably low key how like every religion started. It was just someone being like, this is what happened. You went, all right.
Yeah. Okay.
So follow you? All right.
Hey, y'all. Hey, Steve said some stuff, so I'm going to follow him. I'll cite him occasionally if that'll help the group.
Wait, I just have to ask, is it a long line of Steves or is it one Steve who's been eternal?
I like to think it's a generational thing.
Oh, okay,
That
yeah,
is
yeah.
Steve and then Steve the Junior and Steve the
Yeah,
First. And we
Okay,
go
yeah.
down the line.
All right, I like that.
Hell yeah. All right, we're going to take a break and then we'll be back with more Yassir Lester and more My Mama Told Me. We are back. Yeah.
That's how they get you.
Yeah.
Suck my dick.
We're back, baby. We are back here with more Yassir Lester, and we are still talking about the history of the sex of both Usher and Ciara and where that all comes from. Oh, this is the question I wanted to ask. Did at any point, well, first of all, who specifically do you remember telling you this? Or is there a person specifically
Yeah. It's like a group of dudes, but I'll be glad to say all their names.
Name names.
So they also, here's the thing, and this is like such a weird detail to remember. It was all the tallest dudes in my grade.
Right.
So it was all the dudes who were like, 5'10" in 6th grade. One of them was named, I swear to God, his name was Britton, but it was Britton.
Okay.
And like he was just like, it was crazy because he wasn't particularly good looking, but he was just like so fresh. Like he was always like, I don't know if this made it to Chicago, but just always like in a polo and like some like Tommy Hilfiger, like Carpenter jeans and like some Reeboks. He was just always flossy like that. Then there was this other dude, Timmy, who like
less fresh. I can already tell less fresh.
No, wrong.
Wow.
They were like trying to figure it out, but he was like 6'3". Like they were trying to figure out how to have him play for like the high school team in like 6th grade. Like it's like crazy stuff.
They were trying to do that thing that people do with like Dominican kids where
truly,
bump him up instead of bump him down. It's like, no, he's older.
He's 17.
Yeah,
Yeah,
17.
Yeah. So it was Britton and Timmy, and then the last dude was Edward. And Edward, I remember Edward is like so many weird. I'm gonna leave out the last dude's name just because I don't want to put him on blast like that.
Hell yeah, murderer.
But
I love
Edward's kind of Edward's cousin, the cousin's dad broke out of prison while we were on school.
Wow.
Like we were at school and like a news bulletin came up and they were like, so like they like said a dude and the kid who it was like started crying and we were like, nigga, this is incredible. Like your dad got out of jail?
Congratulations,
Yeah.
man. He's like, no, I'm the one that put him in. Oh God.
He's coming to kill me, nigga.
Why are y'all cheering? Please stop this.
Oh my God, that would have been worth it.
Okay.
But so then the last dude was Edward, and Edward was always wearing a Reggie Miller Indiana Pacers jersey.
I love that.
Yeah.
And so all these
so
guys,
those were the dudes. They like low-key like mobbed on me, like just like rolled up on me and was just, Usher's a hermaphrodite. I was like, I didn't.
I didn't know that.
But I mean, like, if you're telling me to tell people, I guess.
You guys seem like cool dudes. I'll repeat it.
Yeah,
not...
yeah. Hey, look, man, I got no qualms about repeating something that I just heard from 3 people that barely talk to me.
Listen, I haven't figured myself out enough to feel confident to tell you no, that's not true. So yeah, I'll go tell more people and we'll create a violent and dangerous atmosphere around this school.
And more so for people that are struggling with their intersexuality. So thank you for choosing me to be your mouthpiece. And then for high school, it was because that's when the Ciara thing was happening,
right?
I think, or maybe right before, but it had to have been my homie Mark or my homie Eugene because they were. It most likely was Eugene. Like we all worked at McDonald's together, and
Nice.
Eugene like. Mark was from Detroit, so he had like an older brother who rapped, and like we were always just like trying to get Mark. He was like varsity basketball freshman year of high school. Like, man, like Mark is doing it. You know what I'm saying? But like, I was the weird kind of like art kid who was trying to be funny, and then Eugene was just like this spacey like weirdo. Anyway, so those are the people that told me about it. And like again, like I'll say this: the Usher thing, I fully believed. I just like fully believed it from the jump. The Ciara thing.
Right. Well, that's fascinating. I'm going to jump in here because that actually is really fascinating to me because it wasn't one that I think that I heard when I was growing up.
Oh, interesting.
I had heard a lot of speculation about his sexuality in general, but not a lot about like the possibility of him having, multiple
sex organs,
genitals, sex organs. But I will say that it fit within a world of theories that, you know what I mean? Or a type of theory that made perfect sense to me. So it wasn't me reading that and going, get the fuck out of here. It was more like, I could see that. Right. I could see how we as kids would have accused him of being intersex or whatever, hurtful word we were calling him back then. But even in
Siamese.
Right. Usher Siamese, right? No.
He got a Siamese ding dong. That's right. They fused together, man.
You don't want to tell nobody because he say it helped his dancing. That's how he danced so good.
Because that's part of it, which is so crazy, is that they were always like, but that's how he can dance so good. It's just like, I'm sorry, him having both, like. Anyway, sorry, I didn't mean to go on.
It helps him move his hips in a way that a man never should be able to. So crazy. But so with that, most of the research that I attempted to dig up about this, there's not a lot about Usher.
Interesting.
There isn't a lot. Whereas with Ciara, there's a shit ton.
Interesting.
Of her literally having to go on interviews, multiple interviews, and deny the possibility that she's intersex. And the worst part about it is, and I didn't realize this until I'm like digging all this stuff up, she was fucking 17.
Yeah, she was a child.
This was a child being like, ha ha ha, nah, I'm not. I'm not a boy and a girl mixed together like y'all say over and over again.
Anyway, here's my song Goodies about having sex with an adult man that was written by an adult man
named Jazzy Faye.
But here's what I'll say. That I feel like, not to say that it's proven, but I feel like the part that we can take from this is that this is all, the Usher thing is so infancy internet that, and remember I was like, I think it was just the spotlight was taken from Usher and then flashed on her.
Yes.
I think that's the through line you can follow, is that like, as that rumor went on, they just attached it to whoever they could, and she just happened to be, because that was like what, 2002, 2001,
2004
maybe?
Is when she came out, and I think it was pretty immediate that people were like, this is not a tradition, quote unquote traditional woman, whatever the fuck that means. I will say that even because I don't know enough, and because I felt like this is important, especially in terms of this subject, I wanted to dig up exactly why hermaphrodite is a problematic word, right? Yeah. And so what I uncovered is that basically hermaphrodite is not actually a thing that happens in a human person. That hermaphrodite refers to a organism that's able to hold both genitals, or like a male and female sex organ, at the exact same time equally. Oh, okay. Which doesn't actually happen in humanity, right? Of course. Intersex people actually is more complicated than that. Like you said before, it like ranges from anything from like a person who has just like undefined genitals, a micropenis, an enlarged clitoris, labial fusion is one of the things, undescended testicles, or a labial mass, which they, if they dug under there, I guess they could find testicles underneath. Yeah, so it's a like bunch of shit.
Yeah, that sounds like me.
I personally connect with the labial mass.
Yeah, man. Keep digging in that labial mass. You're gonna find what you're looking for.
So it's like all these even the implication that like these two people are sort of this same thing is like a super ignorant thing, because they could be a million different kinds of intersex.
But it's also like, and there's two things at play. It's a child learning the concept of what a hermaphrodite is in terms of whatever attribute that is to an animal or organism, right? Learning that, and then reducing it to like, oh, that would be like if a dude had a ding dong and had a little and had a vagina. That would be the same. Right. And you're like, could not be more wrong. And like, nah, that's what it is, right? So
teacher, I hear you,
yeah.
but I'm hearing what I'm saying, and what I'm saying sound more like what I like to say. So I'm gonna go with that.
So it's like you have that already at play. And then the concept that like, and I'm not saying this to be funny, that let's say I don't know what the most common form of intersexuality is, right?
Yeah.
But let's just say we just take the most populous form of intersexuality is, right? That two of them would make it as R&B stars.
Dog.
Is like such a crazy
insane
concept.
So that's the other thing that I uncovered is that
okay.
that intersex people only represent 1.7% of the population. So the fact that it's already impossible to make it to that level of celebrity, but two of them would, under the cloak of night, make it to that level, and you, a nigga who's on the internet coloring Dexter's lab pictures, uncovers this truth about her is insane. It's wild.
Yeah. It's but it makes me laugh because I'm just like, oh, just like it doesn't matter if it's 2020, 2002, 1996. It's just like niggas have just been bored forever.
We just needed something to talk about.
Needed anything to talk about. Anything other than learning. It's so crazy.
That little girl's got broad shoulders. Let's say that she's a man now. It's like, no, she's probably just growing into her body and also very talented at the exact same time.
But also, like, and here's what I'm saying, like, again, not to speak on, I don't want to speak on traditional gender norms.
Yeah.
But in the realm that we are existing, right? In a business, the music business, that relies on gender norms at the time, at the very least at the time. Ciara is, just because she has nice shoulders, she is one of the most hyper feminine people who's ever lived.
Yes.
Usher, like, outside of like wearing a white blazer, is like a very masculine dude.
He's a buff man.
Yeah, it's like so crazy that we picked truly like the ends of the spectrum for hyper femininity and masculinity, and we're like, both of them have both parts. Next question.
If anything, if we needed a starting point at our most ignorant level, we could have said RuPaul, who already was playing the line, but instead we were like, who's that motherfucker that looks like a man and talks like a man and dances like a man? That's a lady too. It's like, what are you doing? Why?
Nigga, I said he's part lady. Next question.
Okay, but stop growling at me when you
nigga,
say
I
it.
said it. She part man. Nigga, you heard what I said. Put the record on. Put the record on. Tell
Burn. I want to hear Burn.
Tell me when she talk about rolling on a nigga's lap that she don't sound part nigga in the way she's saying that.
So one of the things that I think is hugely fascinating from this whole thing, and like I said, Ciara, so with part of the Ciara argument was that, number one, that the claim, and maybe you heard this, was that not only was she intersex, but that she had announced it on the Oprah Winfrey show. That there was like this hidden episode where like Ciara had come out and like said like, hey, Oprah, I am an intersex person. And this is my truth. The episode does not exist.
Of course,
but everyone claimed to have seen this episode. And everything that I uncovered was like a bunch of people being like, yeah, my cousin said that he saw the episode. And it was wild. It was crazy. It was like, get the fuck out of here.
Because that's also a holdover from pre-internet. Is that it was, because that's also the Tommy Hilfiger thing.
Yes,
remember
that's exactly what I thought about. Yes.
They were like, and then Tommy Hilfiger went on the Oprah Winfrey show. He said he wish niggas never wear his clothes. He gave everyone the audience a finger.
He said if he see a nigga in his jeans, he'll shoot him in the street.
Yeah,
it's like Tommy Hilfiger never said that.
But you're also like, the dude whose first and only model for a very long time was Aaliyah. Aaliyah is literally responsible for the success of Tommy Hilfiger. But like, it's just so weird that we can say, back in the day, you could say anything and be like, what happened? Like, oh, it was on Oprah. And maybe that's why she's an op.
Yes. Oprah let a bunch of, I love this.
Yeah.
Oprah let a bunch of bullshit ride because she wanted more ratings and more attention, and she was willing to let the black community tank itself for the sake of entertaining white people and letting her fake stories sort of circulate to make herself more popular in the white community.
It's yeah. Now we're on this. I'm like, oh, that's exactly what happened.
100%. Oprah probably started all this shit. She
yeah,
every,
she'd be like, hey,
every
hey,
single one.
Hey, tell him Tommy Hilfiger was just on the show. And that Ciara said she got a ding dong hiding in the pants.
Make sure you mention the Oprah Winfrey Show every Tuesday at 9:30 a.m.
Because it's also like, I'll say this, like, Oprah had wild moments, right? Like, she had the Klan on, and like, you know, she had bigger moments, but it wasn't Jerry Springer or Jenny Jones.
No.
Like, the chances that two major things happening on her show and no one saw
No one
it,
can track down these
or that
episodes.
it wasn't at least news. That's
Yeah.
the other thing, that we just forewent the news in a way that was just like, well, you know, he said that he knows someone who saw it, and it's just like we all wouldn't. Everything else made it to us, right? Like any other time, like the Mark Furman tapes made it to us. Like so many things, so many things that were actual news made it. Rodney King made it to us.
That was a home video shot in the dark in 1992, 93, whatever it was. There's a reason that all these things make it to us, and it's because they existed, not because like there's some secret conspiracy not to show us the lost Ciara tapes.
God, I mean, I wish I was better at deep fakes, because it would be funny to just do deep fakes of Tommy Hilfiger on Oprah and then Ciara on Oprah, just making their little announcements and be like, I found them. I found the clips.
Everybody said they weren't real, but I found the tape. Oh, that's so funny. So, okay, with the Usher one of the more fascinating parts of that, because like I said, I wasn't finding a lot of information about any accusations about him being intersex, and even accusations feels like a weird term in this case, because it's
insinuations.
Like, sure. You're a smarter man than I am. You know the right words. But so it all, as far as I could tell, and this was my own digging, as far as I can tell, most of the accusation or sort of like criminalization of Usher came out of exactly what you said, which is, this is a dude who's sexier than me and I don't like how that feels, so I'm going to undermine it. And then in 2010, he does that song with Nicki Minaj, Lil Freak. I'm sure you know the lyrics.
Yeah, of course.
Front to back. He talks about being bisexual, or certainly like hanging out with bisexual people and like group sex and that whole thing. And in an interview afterwards with MTV, they asked him like, hey, Usher, are you into group sex now? And he's like, his response was basically like, you know, I get into it from time to time. I like hanging out with bisexual people. And that's when the internet's like, oh, this motherfucker up to something. He ain't, he on some dirty, nasty, filthy shit, which I think then spawns, because of our homophobia and transphobia and all the phobias, it moves into, he's got multiple, like, sex organs in his body kind of thing. It's crazy.
I mean, and here's what I'll say. Granted, the news didn't hit till 4 years ago or something. But if we had known Usher was getting all them poor ladies sick back in the day, there's no way we would have assumed he was intersex.
Not at all.
Would have been like, he's giving every woman he meets herpes. Every woman.
What we would have accused him of was being a bad guy, and then that would have been the excuse for why our girls shouldn't have sex with him. It's like, nah, you don't want to fuck Usher. He's a bad person.
Yeah, you want your skin to turn green.
Right? He got diseases, girl. Stick with me. I can't moonwalk sideways, but I'm pretty good.
Look, I can't moonwalk sideways, but I promise you'll get home safe and healthy. I bet you won't cough tomorrow.
So I'm glad you brought that up, because in 2017, just for anybody who doesn't know, Usher got sued for $20 million because a woman and then 3 people after that accused him of giving them herpes without notifying them ahead of time, that he knowingly gave them herpes and didn't tell them, which is a crime, which they never proved that he had herpes or that they had herpes. In fact, I think one of the women, they proved she did not in fact have herpes, but was just saying it and letting it ride. But I didn't realize this, and this is a very fascinating element of it, is that one of the accusers of the 4 was a man. Had no idea.
Really?
Yeah, there was a dude in that group, and he never revealed his name or his identity. He went by John Doe, as they do in, court cases where you want to keep your identity secret.
Right.
And so I think that just added to like sort of this weird dance of like, what the fuck is going on with Usher? And so there's all these different historical moments that people refer to when they talk about Usher's sexuality. For example, his ex-wife, Tamika Foster, in 2011 tweeted after their breakup that gay men, quote unquote, gay men who look and act straight should identify themselves with bright wristbands, which, whoo boy.
Ooh. I hate when I hear an idea that I had first.
Oh, she was
God.
Clearly you're tripping. This is wild.
That is so fun. It's just like, also like, the Holocaust happened.
Yeah.
You know that like, just as a species, we shouldn't do things to identify if someone is different. Just leave it alone. You're just gonna have to guess.
And there was a small part of her that was like, well, I'm not putting patches on their shoulder. I'm just saying wristbands. I'm not tattooing them. I just want a wristband so that they don't trick me.
But that's why I don't like the logic of it, because it's like, the easiest thing to get off is a wristband. You just cut them off.
These secret gay agents aren't just able to take the wristband off in the morning after a nice shower. Like, what are you talking about, Tamika?
Well, also it's just like, I don't want the world to know I'm gay or bisexual, but I gotta put on my wristband.
Rules are rules.
It's that's what Tamika said.
Tamika Foster, Usher's ex-wife.
But see, that was another thing that I remember pointed to about the conspiracy of Usher's, just not even the intersex thing, but of his sexuality, is because Tamika was older than him by like 10 years or something. And people were like, no man loves a woman 10 years older than him unless he gay. And you're like, are you sure? Like, every time. If a nigga likes someone older than him, he gay.
Something wrong with his brain if he like a woman that old. Look at her. What is she, in her mid to late 30s? She's done.
It's so sad. Anyway, yes.
Okay, so that happens. Then in 2013, I believe it is, Diddy does an interview where it's like one of Diddy's parties, and this is one of those where he starts videotaping the parties, and he has Kevin Hart hosting this party, and he's interviewing with Kevin Hart, and Usher walks into the building, and he's so happy to see Usher, and he starts talking to Kevin on the microphone with Usher, and he says out loud in the interview, he says, oh, I love this dude. He's my bro. We used to wake up together. I mean, damn. Pause. And then everybody just started laughing because Diddy had implied that him and Usher used to sleep in a bed together as partners.
That's hard. That's a stretch for me a little bit.
Oh, it's not evidence of anything.
Right, because I would just assume it was just like, even my head went to, oh yeah, like a hard night of partying, you wake up and it's just like, oh, there's Diddy over there. Like, I didn't think, it's not like he was like, and then I woke up to the soft warmth of his breath on my neck. I mean, damn, pause.
And then Usher, he used to kiss me real slow. And he would say, good morning, Papa. And I would say, hey, Usher, oh, damn, you caught me. Pause.
And Kevin Hart's just like, okay,
right.
Naeem, where are you?
All right.
Naeem, get over here, boy.
I'm going to tweet about this and get in trouble soon.
How about a smash a dollhouse over both of y'all's heads?
Okay, and then the
God.
last one, and this is one of my favorites, is that in 2013 they asked Jenny McCarthy of all people in an interview. Why are they interviewing Jenny McCarthy? I have no idea. Why are they asking her questions about Usher? Even less clear. But in an interview with Jenny McCarthy, she was asked if she thinks Usher is attractive, to which she responded by saying, "Is he for sure straight? Is he bi? I think he's hot. I would definitely be interested. I would have that unsure flag of which team he plays for real. Guys that are really well kept like that and aren't really with that many chicks, I tend to have a question mark."
Because I remember, and I don't know about you, but I remember because I moved to LA in 2005, and that was like I was from Georgia and whatever, but that was like I feel like peak zenith, like quote unquote metrosexual movement, right? And the whole idea, when you really reduce it to its core, was that like if you're a man and you shower and have a t-shirt that ain't wrinkly, you are half gay. And you're like, I'm sorry, what? Like, if you got a haircut in the past week and a half, you one of these half gay niggas running around. You're like,
you got secrets, motherfucker. It's like, all right.
It's like, I'm so, because like that's like her saying that. And it's like, first of all, when we talk about problematic white women, it's like the woman who lied on Emmett Till and then Jenny McCarthy.
Oh, she's
it's
right
like,
up there.
It's right. They're the same to me.
Yeah. She did the vaxing. She's like one of the source material non-vaxxers.
All her. And the thing is that like it was bad information and bad science coming from a blonde-haired, blue-eyed white lady with big breasts.
Yes.
Like who's already had some semblance of fame and who had a child that's afflicted, not from the thing that she's saying, but because she can point to that.
Yes.
Every white person believed her.
To your point, she is literally the most dangerous weapon that the white community could pull out in those circumstances. She is both victim and big-tittied and blonde.
Right.
She can go crazy with whatever she wants to say.
Yeah. And she did. And so, like, the idea that, like, someone who is so, not just on the wrong side of history, but just, like, actually in their soul and in their atoms, like, is incorrect. Like, she's not built the way a human is built in the sense that, like, I feel like her molecular polarity spins opposite of us. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's just like, you're so wrong on everything.
Yep.
And so it's like the fact that she went on TV again using the weapon of blue eyes and breasts and blonde hair to be like, oh, he must be. Then of course everyone's gonna
now the world is going to question it, and she made it popular in a way that it shouldn't have.
And ending it with he's too well kept. That's crazy.
It's
anyway,
insane.
Sorry.
But well, I think we agree. Jenny McCarthy is spawn of Satan. And
yes, we do.
We're gonna take another break, and then we'll be back with more My Mama Told Me. And we are back. Yeah.
I'm not gay no more. I am delivered.
We are back here with more Yassir Lester. Yep.
Oh no.
Oh, yeah.
That is, I mean it sincerely. In the grand scheme of heartbreaking things to have ever happened. I don't think there was ever a point where I got to enjoy it the way other people did. Like I was just like, oh no, this young king has to do this.
You know what? And I feel bad about it now, but I legitimately thought it was the funniest thing I had ever seen in my life. And then other people had to be like, hey, you know that's not good, right? You know, like he's really gonna struggle for the rest of his life because of what he just announced in front of 5,000 people at a church. I was like, nope, this nigga's hilarious.
Here's the thing. Here's what I'll say. Because to pretend that I didn't laugh, like I was pretty on board with like, yo, like this is heartbreaking.
Yeah.
Until he went, women. And I was just like, you didn't have to do that part.
Well, he's a showman.
I
He's
know.
always been a showman.
He's so good. I still check in on him on Instagram.
Yeah, he just got in that fight with the lady at the Black Lives Matter rally.
Yeah.
He's still working.
Yeah.
He's still out here.
I will say I appreciate him in the sense that he's just like, he's not like, what's her name? Bad Baby or whatever, where it's just like you tried to like make a whole new career or whatever.
No.
But I do like that he's like, y'all not gonna forget about me.
Right.
You know what I mean?
He was like, I'm just gonna keep being myself.
Yeah.
But now I get what myself is.
Right, exactly.
Whereas I totally agree. I think the bad babies of the world are like a gross human being who then did a bad thing and then tried to manipulate that bad thing into a completely different career that you didn't deserve and should not have.
Right. Yeah,
he's just like, no, I'm gonna keep yelling at people and it'll be under different contexts. And perhaps you'll like that. Good for him. I'm proud of him.
Oh, God. I love him. He is a kid.
Okay. Now we're going to play a fun game. This is a fun game. It's a brand new game, and I'm very excited to debut it with you. This game I have coined, and it's a game that I've come up with, and I'm very excited to introduce. It's called Langston's sister, Gia, who's 10 years old, describes new conspiracy theories she uncovers on TikTok. Yeah, so this is how it works. I'm going to play you some audio clips of my sister explaining a conspiracy theory to me, and I'd just like for us to unpack exactly what she's talking about. What she's stressing about, and keep in mind, she is genuinely afraid of what's happening in these clips. She is not at all doing this for a prank or for some silliness. She is 10, and she means it.
Okay.
Here we go.
Okay, so my thing about Chuck E. Cheese is that I don't trust them anymore. I've heard too many stories about them. They basically are saying that at the strike of midnight, the robots get off their stands and start walking around seeking for children to eat or to just torture them.
All right. Yassir, your thoughts on the
So I have to be clear. She's afraid that the plot of Toy Story and Mannequin exists only at Chuck E. Cheese.
Only at Chuck E. Cheese.
When it is empty.
Strike of midnight.
Because they're closed. And so they just go around and be like, oh, if there's a spare kid in here, we're gonna wait, it was either eat or torture.
Or torture. It depends on the kid and the day, I guess. And which mannequin, I guess, catches them or whatever. I don't know. But yes, at the strike of midnight, they come alive and they eat and or torture kids.
I also, like, does she know that they've gone under?
Chuck E. Cheese?
Yeah.
No, she has no idea.
Okay.
She thinks that Chuck E. Cheese is the most thriving business of all time as far as it's her favorite place. So she's like, nah, Chuck E. Cheese is dope. And I hate to find out. It's as if your favorite person got canceled for her. Do you know what I mean?
Right.
Like it's your hero going down. And she's like, fuck, I love Chuck E. Cheese, but I'm hearing about these robots eating and kidnapping children.
But again, like it's like the Wayfair thing that I want to I just want to hold your sister and be like, it's not going to be you that figured this out.
Right. You're not the one. And I will say this, she's smart enough to know that she's not figuring out, but she doesn't know who to trust on the internet. So she, like us when we were kids, is just subscribing to these people who then tell her something wild, and she's like, hey y'all, I got some bad news. I'm hearing from Josie 33 that they're kidnapping kids at Chuck E. Cheese.
I'm hearing from Chuck E. Cheese hater that some wild things are happening there at Chuck E. Cheese.
Why would he say it if it isn't true?
Well, okay, just the last thing real quick. It's just like the idea that people still go.
Yes.
Like that she's like, oh, I got, like I can't go. Other people go, but because that thing, that stroke of midnight thing.
I'm sure you've heard.
Gia. You ain't gonna catch Gia there, stroke of midnight.
Not today, fam. Okay, I'm gonna play you some more because she goes on to describe exactly, because I was very curious. How is it that these people or these Chuck E. Cheese robots are coming to life? And she explains that as well.
They just found a man that was downstairs doing like spells and voodoo on the robots for them to kidnap children. he was using a Ouija board. Plus, he had like this circle, and he was sitting in the middle with candles, and it was very dark and spooky down there. And he would just sit in the middle and start doing his thing.
Thoughts?
Oh, here's the thing. If you were gonna bring robots to life, that is how you would do it.
Yep.
So she's not. It seems as if, and this isn't a dig, it seems as if whoever told her the story, or wherever she got it from, they didn't have the vocabulary for pentagram yet, because clearly that's what she's describing.
Right. They didn't know like the actual terms of witchcraft. So she was just like, yeah, they got a Ouija board and some candles and
a circle.
and a circle.
Because it's also like, the other thing you want to say is that, like, usually for like the demons and like the satanic, conjurers, it's like they're pretty efficient. Like, they're not bringing a Ouija board and the pentagram. Like, it's like it's usually one thing. Like, they either got like a pentagram with like a book of spells, or they got like a Ouija board with like a book of spells, but like then maybe like like a lock of hair or whatever.
Right.
But like, we just need her to know that's like overkill.
Yeah.
Like, if you're gonna bring
pick your method to whatever madness you're trying to create.
Because the other question is are they putting souls into the robots? Is that what she thinks is happening? Are they transferring souls from hell, or are they just bringing them to life and they're just bloodthirsty?
Yeah, I just think that she thinks they become alive. I don't think that the concept of like the transference of a soul is even, that's a little too sophisticated for her. So for her, it's just like they are not alive, and then a man in a basement makes them alive, and then they seek out children to eat and or torture.
Gotcha. All right, cool. No doubt.
Hell
no
yeah.
Doubt. No doubt.
All right, I'm going to play you the last clip. And this one, I think, is when she explains the Chuck E. Cheese employees handle what's happening with these kidnappings and these robots.
Oh, wait. So the Chuck E. Cheese people are aware of it, just real quick.
They are, in fact, aware of it.
Okay,
cool. She'll explain it all.
Okay, perfect.
Well, really, there was another person who found an article about how it said that the workers, when it turns midnight, they have to go put on like the little cute Chuck E. Cheese outfit, because if one of the robots sees you working there and it's midnight, they're basically come and hurt you or murder you. But if you wear the costume, they'll think you're one of them, so they won't attack you. And what they're attacking you for is they think you're like a robber or someone that's trying to mess with the Play Store. And when you walk up towards one of them, they always look down at you because there's a hidden camera, I guess, in one of their bodies, so that they can like scan you, whatever, to make sure you're not guilty of anything.
Just to make sure you're not guilty of anything.
Oh my god! I first of all, she is adorable in a way that like that is so cute, because it's like I just haven't heard a child talk earnestly in such a long time that I'm just like, it's so sweet to hear, even though it's like
it's haunting.
Darker,
I'm not able to get her to stop believing this. But yeah, it's real cute that she thinks it's real.
But okay, because the other thing to ask her is, at this point, everyone knows at midnight the robots come back.
Everyone knows. There apparently have been articles written, and it's not in these clips, but she also explains that the part of how they uncovered it was they found fingerprints of children on the windows leading towards the basement, unrelated to the fingerprints they might find of children any other time at Chuck E. Cheese.
On a slide at a booth.
These were apparently clearly kidnapped fingerprints as opposed to other fingerprints.
Yeah, so wait, there's also windows in the basement?
I guess so. Hey, I'm just a reporter here.
Okay, yeah. I mean, thank you, number one, for bringing this to light in a way that I never would have guessed. Because the thing that's funny to me is that now the robots are sophisticated enough to like have cameras that do full body scans to know if you are like one of them or not. But also, if you just dress like them,
the technology, it can't penetrate the costume. They just can't tell the difference between
But last thing, they eat and torture children,
Mhm.
but they also defend the place from robbers.
Right. Y'all got a weird moral code here at
It's
Chuck E.
so
Cheese.
funny. You're like, wow, it really is all shades of gray, huh?
Right. Like, listen, we'll kill a child, but we will not let you steal our pizza recipe. That
And
is untouchable.
That, my friends, is why we will defend our lands till the end.
Yep.
It's so crazy. That's so funny.
And this
I
is
love
apparently
that.
circulating all over TikTok and specifically for, in the network of kids who otherwise should just be watching dances and weird things.
Yeah.
Which
Oh,
is the
God.
scariest part. Is like, you think that your little sister is on the internet watching people learn to like do the savage dance, and secretly she's learning about murders and mayhem.
But what I will say for right now, luckily, is that it's attributed to a business, which is hard, but for the most part, it is just a ghost story.
Yes.
Like it ain't Pizzagate. You know what I'm saying? Like,
right. Well, that's
it's a different kind of Pizzagate.
Well, that is the slightly endearing part.
Yeah.
Is that essentially what she is doing is Pizzagate, but for kids. And so the endearing part of it is that like, oh, this isn't attached to a real person who then becomes criminalized, and now we have to spend the next 20 years trying to unpack for other real people. It's like, oh, okay, it's like this fictional character that she thinks comes to life. That's harmless in the grand scheme of conspiracy theories.
Yeah,
man.
But I just, because to me, like, I think that like so much of growing up weirdly is that, you know what I mean? It's like, so it's like, again, it's like the Usher Ciara thing. It's like, you know how they say like babies see more things because they don't have language to dictate the things that they see and they don't see.
Wow, I hadn't heard that.
Oh, you haven't? Yeah, it's like
No.
a really interesting thing. So I'll do a quick example real quick, but they have this thing called the green dot test, right?
Yeah.
And so they take a village, let's say in Brazil, right? I forget where it is exactly. They have like over 40 words for the word green because that's how nuanced they see the color. So they give them a chart with 9 green dots, and one is off by like 0.01 of a hue, right? And say which one is different. And they can point to the one that's different every time. But this same village or a group of people don't have a word for the color blue. So when you hand them the chart with the same chart, but one of the dots is blue, and ask them which one is different, they physically can't see it. Their brain can't register it because they don't have the language for it. So if you do it to someone like us, who has the word blue, but we don't have the nuance of the color green, we fail the same test, but in opposite.
Right.
So that's why they say like babies and blah, blah, blah. So I wanted to say all that it's like, to the Usher thing, the Ciara thing, even to the thing with your sister, it's like we're all weirdly trying to define a world through the prism of like a very limited language, right? So because like what she's actually talking about is just like the greater fears of like probably technology, of like an unknown world, and like what does that mean? What is the idea of murder and torture and all these words that she hears, but she doesn't necessarily understand the concept of them. You know what I mean? And it's the same thing with like the Usher thing and the Ciara thing. Is like not understanding that like sexuality, gender, all that stuff is fluid and isn't binary, and like, flows in very different ways. And because you don't have the way to define them, that you kind of just like start inventing things a little bit.
To your point, I think it's just us trying to bring everything closer to ourselves, and we do it in sort of like difficult, ignorant ways sometimes, but it's not always malicious. It's just like, this is the only way I can begin to understand the world or the feelings I'm having, is to express fear, and I don't know how to articulate what the real fear is, so there's motherfuckers in Chuck E. Cheese basement trying to kill me, and I'll just start there, and then the light world filters it out.
To be clear, the Usher Ciara thing is malicious. Like that, we can't. We're not copping that one to like childhood ignorance. Like there was Britton and Edward and Timmy.
Timmy hates you, Usher. He thinks
Timmy.
you got a vagina on your hip, and he hates you, and he'll never forgive you for what you did.
And that's where he keep his CDs. When that's how he was handing them out. He had a little vagina on his hip, and then he would keep the CDs in there and the tapes, and he'd pull them out, and then that's how L.A. Reid got his demo.
And you know it's true because all his CDs, if he ever gave you one, they were a little wet. They were just a little bit wet, and you know because it was in that pussy pocket on his hip.
All right. We've crossed the threshold.
We did it. I think this was so
my
much
God.
fun, dude. Thank you so much for doing it.
For real.
Hey, can you tell the people where they can find you and what you got going on?
Yeah, I got nothing going on, but you can go to Instagram. You go to Instagram and search my name, Yassir Lester, Yassir Lester, and do the same thing on Twitter. I would do the handles, but just look for my name. And
I'm one of my favorite people to follow on any platform. Fantastic.
Dog, you're one of my favorites to follow. You really make me laugh on there in a way that it's weird to end this on a complimentary note.
No, please.
But I feel I mean this sincerely because I'd only known you from afar from a very long time. And then we started, kind of met through Chris and Sam and everyone and Jack. But your sense of humor is wholly original in a way that I get glimpses into the way your mind works. Even through social media, and it really is entertaining because so much of it is just aping other people's senses of humor, but you are very original, and I dig that about you.
You're a sweet man, and I feel uncomfortable, and I'm gonna call you intersex from now on. I'm gonna accuse you of things that just help me deal with my feelings. But follow Yassir. He's the best.
Oh my
Thank you so much for listening. Subscribe or like it and review it. Do whatever you do to a podcast. I don't know. I just be talking. Okay. This was My Mama Told Me. Bye.
Peace.